This demo of a Community Infectious Disease Alert Service, or CDIS, was created by the National Interoperability Collaborative for a Project Unify user story in which a hypothetical persona scheduled to check into a homeless substance use rehabilitation facility is required to take a COVID survey associated with her primary care provider. However, having exercised her 42 CFR Part 2 rights to not share her substance use disorder with anyone, including her primary care provider, we are faced with the problem of how to alert the rehabilitation center of her potential COVID infection without revealing her substance use disorder. For this demo, we have leveraged existing standards to enable interoperability between multiple disparate systems from multiple different information domains, either based on FAST Health Information Resources, or FHIR, standards, or based on more generic IETF WebSockets, as we show in this data flow diagram. 1. A Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS, uses a FHIR subscription-based API supported by CDIS to subscribe to a specific condition of concern, such as COVID, with appropriate consent for a particular client ID. 2. If the HMIS client ID is not already in the CDIS person matching repository, the CDIS uses a FHIR GET operation to retrieve additional client demographic identifiers from the HMIS, and then uses FHIR to search for matching Electronic Health Record System, or EHR, patients to get the associated patient ID. 3. CDIS then uses the FHIR subscription app to subscribe to patient ID condition changes in the EHR on behalf of a community. 4. The COVID Survey app uses the FHIR questionnaire and questionnaire response APIs to update the electronic health record system, as Gray from May-June will describe.
On the left, we have the COVID screening questionnaire as would be displayed to the patient or client. On the right, we have our MyHandHappy server currently showing a total of 34 conditioned resources. The patient or client would scroll through this list of questions about current COVID symptoms. These are the screening questions recommended by the CDC. As soon as one of them is positive, we notice that the option to submit becomes readily available, which we click. And this takes us through the authorization process. And we should now have a new condition on the server. If we go back to condition and we search, we notice that we do indeed now have 35 entries. We look for the most recent one that we see was just uploaded. And we note that it is indeed the positive screening result that we just created.
Based on this positive result for suspected COVID health concern, 5. The EHR publishes the change in condition for the patient ID either through a FHIR subscription mechanism or through a FHIR GET polling mechanism. 6. The Community Infectious Disease Alert Service then matches the patient ID back to the HMIS client ID and publishes the change in condition for that client ID back to the HMIS. 7. Finally, the HMIS uses IETF WebSockets to communicate with a shelter management app to ensure that the client is placed in an appropriate isolation room, as Eric will describe next.
Finally, the Homeless Management Information System, powered by the HSLink open source human services platform, receives the COVID alert for Sarah Thompson that had previously subscribed to. HSLink instantly relays that message using IETF WebSockets to the Petone HMIS. Here we see the alert arriving in the app's notification tray. Clicking on Sarah Thompson's alert takes the Shelter Manager user to Sarah Thompson's Client Golden View screen. In reaction to the alert, the shelter manager wishes to move Sarah from a general shelter area to a COVID congregate area to protect the other shelter occupants. Here is the checkout. And here they search for her and check her back into the COVID congregate shelter area.
The Community Infectious Disease Alert Service is an attempt to address privacy issues that occur across a broad range of communities when we need to exchange potentially sensitive information between systems, of course always with appropriate consent. This information could be homelessness status, substance use, mental health challenges, differently abilitied, and health conditions. These communities could include homeless shelters, rehab centers, assisted care condominium complexes with congregate dining facilities, schools, universities, corporate campuses, churches, or even tight-knit social clubs. So when a community has a vested interest in being alerted if a community member becomes ill, CDIS allows that community to get alerted without revealing any sensitive status in the process. Thank you so very much for your time.